It's Absolutely Auburn, a place where we'll talk about all things Auburn, Maine, because we're in the middle of it all. The City of Auburn's communications team is dedicated to helping you connect with city government and learn everything you need to know about Auburn, our city, our people, our events, and our community. Welcome to Absolutely Auburn.
In this episode, we're talking about Auburn's comprehensive plan. What is it, why you should get involved, and how you can get involved in this very important process. Welcome back to Absolutely Auburn. I'm your host, Jenn Boenig, and joining me in the studio today are David Hediger, the City of Auburn's Director of Planning, Lauren Caffe, the City of Auburn's Long Range Planner, and John Cleveland, the Chairman of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Good morning. Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Thank you. So Auburn is in the process of updating its comprehensive plan, and you might wonder why that's important and what the heck is a comprehensive plan? So it's important because the plan will guide the city's growth, development, and investment over the next 10 years. So David, can you explain a little more about what a comprehensive plan is and how the city is going to use that?
Sure. So the last time we did a comp plan was in 2010. We did do an update to it in 2020 and 2011. But as you indicated, it's a long-term, long-range planning document that the city uses to help guide planning decisions and development in appropriate areas in the city, whether it's commercial uses, recreational uses, residential uses, maybe where we're going to expand utilities and whatnot, things of that nature. So it's a broad planning document that's used. A lot of people think it's limited to zoning, and a majority of it is tied towards zoning type decisions, but other decision making can be reflected from that document. So it is something that is referenced in state statute. So ideally, all communities would have a comprehensive plan. There are some incentives to do that as far as receiving certain types of grants. You have to have a comp plan that's found consistent with state law. So ideally, communities would update these plans every 10 to 12 years. It doesn't always happen as quickly as that, but we're here at this point to do a truly comprehensive update. I shouldn't even say update because that's really what was done just a few years ago, but a brand new plan at this point.
So you kind of mentioned this, David, but I'll follow up still with you, Lauren, as far as why the city needs to update its current comprehensive plan. And I'm going to assume we do this work every 10 years, but it's still probably, as we like to say, living, breathing document. So things could still change, right?
Yeah, so the reason that we do it is because the state of Maine requires, as David mentions, all municipalities to do so with the Growth Management Act. That's the act that we're following. And we do it every 10 years, and it is a living, breathing document because over time you can't predict all the changes that your city will see. And so you vision for the future, you anticipate these things might happen, and then you try your best in that 10 years to plan for that. But there are unexpected things that could happen, and so you want to be referencing that document as often as possible.
Now, John, can you share a little more about how residents and the community can get involved in this process and why it's important for them to want to get involved in this process?
We very much encourage citizens of Auburn, residents of Auburn, to participate in the process. They can do it by a number of ways. On the city's website, if they go to the landing page, you'll notice there's a connection right on the landing page for comprehensive plan. They click on that, that will bring them to the site of the comprehensive plan, and on that site they'll see several things they may find helpful. For example, there'll be posted there documents that we're working on or that's supportive. It's interactive, so you can make comments, and people have already. And so you can make comments to say, here's my thoughts on any number of things in the city. There's also an opportunity there that if you'd like to be on an email list or like to be updated on things, you can enter that and you'll be kept up to date. It shows a list of when our meetings are for the comprehensive plan, so you can plan for that as well. All our meetings are open and public. They're all recorded, so if you go to the website, you can actually see our meetings and the conversations that we've had at those meetings. in addition to that, at every one of our meetings, we have at the beginning an opportunity for public input. And we welcome people to share their thoughts and comments with us. It's at the beginning. It's about a 15-minute block of time we set aside. So if folks wanted to actually come to the meetings, they could have a chance to comment. The actual dates of our meeting you can check on the website. But generally what we try to do, unless there's a conflict, is have the meetings the fourth Thursday of every month at 6 o'clock and at the City Council's chambers up on the second floor in Auburn Hall.
Perfect. And I know over these next couple of months, kind of not necessarily starting with this podcast, because I know the process has already started to get that community engagement piece, but over the next few months, residents and community members are going to continue to hear more about the comprehensive plan. And we really do want to hear from people. So as John just mentioned, definitely go to auburnmaine.gov. There is a ton of information on there. I was on there before coming down here to the studio. And like you said, John, you can see people's comments. You can see the meeting documents, the upcoming meetings schedule. There's just a ton of information on that site. So definitely go to auburnmaine.gov and find that Auburn's 2026 comprehensive plan kind of headline or that logo. You'll see that. You're going to see that in a mailing too that's going to be coming out shortly, hitting mailboxes. And now, David, I think you kind of touched on this too a little bit earlier, but so municipalities, are they required to do a comp plan, or you said they're kind of encouraged with incentives? So is it something that most municipalities do, or?
If you want to have zoning, you got to have a comprehensive plan. So those communities that don't have zoning, they might just have performance standards where they're looking to regulate certain activity types and whatnot. That's not uncommon in a lot of Maine because Maine's so rural. But when you're in more developed communities or certainly service centers like a Lewiston or Auburn, comprehensive plans are there. We were just looking at documents the other day where, it wasn't referred to as a comprehensive plan, but Auburn did a long-range visioning plan in 1919, was it?
Oh, wow.
So, and supposedly it may have been like the first comprehensive plan done. The first. We're going to go with that.
We're going to go with
it.
If we say it,
you heard it here first.
If we say it, it's true.
So 100 years later.
Exactly. So it's kind of exciting. And Lauren was looking at it the other day, and it's a cool document. We'll probably it's from the Sun Journal, but we'll look to put it up on our website here at some point so people can play with that.
I would love to see what some of those things were from 1919.
But if we're going to, you need to do a comp plan if you're going to have zoning. And when you make zoning, it has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So that's a discussion that happens all the time whenever zoning maps are updated or amendments are done to zoning ordinances. You're supposed to tie that back to the comp plan. So this isn't just a specific request for an individual because we like them or we like their project. That may be true, but how does it tie into the long-term vision of the community? So there's some consistency there. So we're not just making, decisions in a silo, but we're taking a broader vision and decision-making process.
So is that why sometimes the plan is kind of updated before that 10 years? Because maybe depending on, like you said, different standards, different rules, different projects, different needs, different things come up. So council members, like administration changes.
It could be initiated by the planning board, the council, administration. Maybe there's new pressures in the community that didn't exist 9 years ago, and we're not quite ready to do a full plan, but we're looking to do an update. Housing's a great example, right? Pre and post COVID conditions with housing are two different things, right?
Yes.
So there probably isn't a community in the state that probably doesn't stand to update their comp plan with respect to housing. You can do updates, and updates aren't a bad thing, but you do need to do a comprehensive view at some point. You're looking at demographics. You're looking at populations, incomes, what kind of growth is occurring in your community. A lot can change in 10 years.
Sure. And I'm assuming, is that also, the census is every 10 years too, right? Is that kind of how that ties in? Maybe? I don't know. It just came off the top of my head.
You're right. I mean, there's, your bigger updates for the census are every 10 years. Comp plans aren't tied to that necessarily.
Okay.
But certainly you will have more accurate data if you're doing it closer to one of those
Right.
updates.
Okay.
And I just maybe like to make sure that it's clear that the primary purpose of doing the comprehensive plan is not because it's driven by some sense of need to change zoning, but though that will be one of the topics that's discussed. It was 15 years ago before we had a full overview of the comprehensive plan. And we did have some updates in 2021, but not a complete plan. So this is just following state law. State law suggests you really need to do it about every 10 years. We're a little beyond that. Lots have changed since that time. And so we're trying to follow good planning practices and state law, which really suggests we do that. And as David was saying too, you want to be sure that the comprehensive plan is consistent with what thoughts might be for the needs going forward, particularly tweaking zoning issues. And this is a good way to do it. Now that we're 15 years out, we probably ought to update it.
Right. So, John, how long is this process going to take before we kind of have, a version that the public will see, and will you get public input even with like a draft version? I guess, can you explain a little more about how this process is going to look over, whether it's the next 6 months, year? I'm not even sure the time frame, quite honestly.
Time frame, we started in about February of this year, and the goal is to have the plan completed by July of 2026, which is a fairly aggressive schedule based on the level of work that's done on a plan. To help us with that, we have the city has employed consultants that are specialists in comprehensive planning. So they're helping us with organizing and drafting some documents for the plan. Beyond that, we're very fortunate to have Lauren join us as a long-range planner. Will help coordinate matters with that. We have a 19-member citizens committee that is overviewing and reviewing all of these documents to make sure that they do reflect what the community is looking for. So throughout this process over the next several months, there'll be several opportunities for them. There'll be drafts. Those drafts will be posted online. They can look at them there at their own convenience, and we'll solicit input from the public throughout the process. One of the things we're doing right now is a survey, which is still available. Folks get out and want to fill it. It's right online. I think the deadline's June 20th of this month, so you can participate by that way. But you can just have some comments on issues or information you think is important. So we'll do that through this initial phase, which is called inventory and analysis. We're then going to move into later this summer, early fall, some visioning plans and looking at future land use issues. There'll be an opportunity for input to the public in the ways that I've mentioned before. There'll be policies that'll be developed, and then there'll be implementation. The idea is not to have this as a document that sits on a shelf somewhere. We want it to be useful and used so that future councils and administrative staff can refer to it. What did the community look like, what they wanted? How do you implement that? How do you plan infrastructure improvements and service improvements going forward? And so ultimately, this plan will go to the City Council in July of 2026, which is one of my jobs to hit that goal. And during the course of that, there'll be additional public meetings that they can comment on, and ultimately the City Council will have to take a vote on whether they wish to adopt this new plan.
Okay, so yeah, lots of time and lots of ways for people to get involved. So, Lauren, if people want to get involved and maybe they're particularly passionate about a certain area, but if they want to get involved with this process, what does that look like? What kind of commitment would we be looking at? And I guess my other question would be, do they need to be an Auburn resident? Could it just be a community member that maybe works here but doesn't necessarily live in Auburn? Are there any kind of requirements or rules for participation when it comes to that type of stuff as well?
Yeah, those are good questions. I'll start with ways in which people can be involved in the time commitment. As John mentioned, there are some more passive engagement methods that we're using, like our website and our ideas wall that you can post. If you're thinking about it and you want to get a thought out as quickly as possible, you can post that on our website. You can always send me an email. I'd love to hear, I'm collecting all that feedback. I'd love to hear what folks are thinking about. So there's that way as well. And then there will be in July some more open house style engagement events that we'll host. So there'll be 3 of those in July, and those kind of are broken up by subject matter. So if you're really interested in housing and transportation in the built environment, there will be an event where you can come and talk about those things. If you're more passionate about the natural environment, there will be one for that as well. And then people and city services is another event, and that's how we're breaking up our process in that sense. And so what was the second half of your question?
Is it only Auburn residents?
Oh,
Can
no.
other
So
people get involved?
I would say that Auburn is a city of people who live and work here, and also people who come in and work and leave and so on and so forth, and so leave and work elsewhere but live here. And so I think it's anybody who has a connection to the city in any way, who has thoughts of how they want to see it in 10 years and 15 years and 20 years and 50 years. I think their input is important, because if you're spending time in Auburn, we want to hear about what you think of the city. We really want this plan to be the people's plan. And so that outreach and engagement is going to be the foundation of the plan. As David was saying, we want it to kind of last, survive the different administrations and so on and so forth, and point to what the people were saying at that time and what they wanted. So yeah, anybody can, if you have a connection to Auburn, we'd love to hear from you, and you can always call me or email me or stop me on the side of the street. I'd love to stop and chat with you. And if you have an interest in specific topic areas, just there are events coming your way in July, and that's not the only time we'll be engaging people as well. It'll be throughout the whole process, throughout the year until July.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
Lauren, in addition to that, we're looking for input from a whole range of people, from younger to older folks. And Lauren has reached out to our middle school students here in Auburn and the high school. They have completed an abbreviated type of survey. Lots of them have responded. So we're very interested in what young people are looking forward. They have a whole life, hopefully, here in Auburn.
Yeah.
And we want to know, as a young person, what would you like this community to be like as you live here?
Gosh, that's fantastic. I would love to hear some of that feedback, just to see, because, kids, we all know they say the darndest things, right? So who knows, what a middle schooler or even a high school student is thinking and looking at, and my gosh, can their brain even think 10 years ahead, John? I don't know, but I don't think
I think one of our questions is, what would you do if you were the mayor for a day?
Yes,
So,
that's a great question. I think we should maybe we'll all answer that at the end, okay?
Well, we will hear the results of your question, because on June 17th, we're going to have a comprehensive plan meeting, and our consultant's going to present a report on what the students said.
Fantastic.
I
I
think
can't
we
wait.
have about, we'll say, 300 middle school survey respondents and about 200 high school students. So
That's great.
we'll hear kind of we want it to be as visionary as possible at the point of vision statement,
Yeah.
is to dream big, and oftentimes young kids do that for us. So
Yes.
it'll be exciting to hear
Oh,
those.
that's great. I'm so happy to hear that you engaged even at that level. That's fantastic. So the comprehensive plan, I'm sure, is a big part of your job right now, David and Lauren. But I'm sure it's not the only thing that you do. Can you share a little more about what a typical workday looks like for you as the planning director, David, and Lauren as the long range planner, respectively?
So, yeah, our department is very busy. We work closely with other departments like economic community development and permitting. We're constantly advising, educating, telling people how they can use their property from a zoning perspective. We are the office that deals with all site law projects, development review. So if somebody wants a new development of any consequence before they can get any building permits, they need to come through us and see that they meet all of the requirements. So we provide staff assistance to the planning board. We're also involved in making amendments to the zoning ordinance, so that involves both the planning board and the city council. So planning staff is very visible throughout the community, whether we're dealing with residents, businesses, planning board members, citizens groups, the council. So it's important that we have the ability to communicate, educate, and also kind of understand what's going on, and also explain to people the reason and the requirements for all these ordinances. So it's always interesting because you're always learning something new about some new project or whatnot. It's also can be confusing because not everything is written as easily as it would be. Already we spend too much time probably talking about what exactly does this mean, like how do we interpret this? So it's fun. It's enjoyable. You get to see a diverse group of subjects and matters.
Yeah, you forgot to say that we laugh a lot too.
And we do laugh a lot. We enjoy. I'm fortunate. We have a good staff upstairs, and everyone gets along well, and we have a good time.
Yes. Yeah, you guys do have a good team up there.
Yeah, we have a good time. I can't add anything to David's point other than that it's just exciting work, and it's awesome to come to work every day, and it's a lot of fun to get to meet new people and people who are passionate about the city. So yeah, it's good.
Good
stuff.
And John, you have a long history of public service here in Auburn. You were the mayor at one point. I saw your photo on the wall. It reminded me that you were the mayor. I know I've seen you through the halls a zillion times here. But I was like, oh, that's right. John was the mayor at one point too. So why did you decide to get involved with this committee, and what are some of your responsibilities as that committee chair? And I know you said you were going to kind of deliver the report to council, but I'm sure that it's more than just that as the committee chair.
Yes. Speaking about my long years of service, maybe I should put that in context because it really informs your next question you asked. I was a young man who was interested in helping his community in civic service. So back in the 1970s, I ran for city council and they elected me, and I served on the city council in the 70s for 4 years. In the 1980s, I ran for mayor and they elected me mayor, and I served as mayor of Auburn as well. And I got some additional experience serving in the state legislature and how that interacts with communities, as well as serving a period of time at the probate court. So I became involved because I now have what they call historical memory.
Historical knowledge and
Historical
expertise.
Wisdom.
Yes, wisdom.
Yeah.
Yes, wisdom. I was actually present at the birth of a lot of things around here. So I thought it would be useful if I offered myself to share some of that knowledge. Because of my service leading other organizations and committees over my tenure, I thought maybe I could bring something as well to the organizational aspect of this. It's the Comprehensive Planning Committee members themselves selected a chair and a vice chair, and I was very honored to be selected by them to do that. So my job is I want to make sure that the public has real opportunity in lots of different ways to have input. Public input is the basis on which the comprehensive plan is developed, and it's important because the courts say if you're going to regulate people's land, we want to know what did they think about that, and did they think this was a good idea? And so it's very important from that aspect that we know what people thought, because if there's some question about it in the future that the court is asked to make a decision on, they're going to look at that basis of what did the citizens want and are you following it as it's expressed in the comprehensive plan. So that's important. When I was mayor, I went through the process with the city council on doing comprehensive plan and making some land use changes. And I actually got to experience it because sometimes even when you provide advice to the city council, they have a different point of view. And they exercise their right to do that. Citizens of Auburn decided they didn't think that was consistent, went to court, and the court said, nope, that's not consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I understand it because I actually, as the mayor, got sued on this.
Wow.
Yes, I had to represent the city. And so I know the ramifications of making these decisions. Secondly, I want to make sure that all the members of the comprehensive plan have a chance to express their opinion and share their thoughts. One of the things I've learned over many years of experience is we all don't know all the answers, and there are people who have information or viewpoints that are very valuable, even if we hadn't thought of it, or perhaps we have a slightly different view. But it's important to make sure that we consider all those thoughts, and then ultimately try to lead the group in a way that we can come to a consensus, so that the committee itself can say, yes, this is a product that we stand behind, we think we did a good job, and we can recommend it to the city council to do that. As a member of the public committee, it's my job to interact with the professionals, both our own staff and our consultants, just to see that we're all headed in a common direction, and that the needs and desires of the committee are being addressed as well, and the public as well. So, and then ultimately, it's my job to see that a product is delivered on time.
Yes, which is very important. It sounds like a full-time job, John.
It is.
It sounds like it.
I spend quite a bit of time with staff and interacting with people around the community. So fortunately, I'm retired.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, you're not. You're doing this full-time.
Well, yes, my wife has reminded me that I have completely failed at retiring.
You just love it so much.
She knows I love it, but she knew that when she married
right,
me.
Yeah.
So this is how I'd like to make my contribution in my retirement, yes.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to ask a question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, what's your favorite thing about Auburn? And it doesn't have to be work related. It certainly doesn't have to be comprehensive plan related. It can be if you want to. Anyone can go first. What's your favorite thing about Auburn?
Well, why don't I start, because I've been here longer than the other two guests. I was born here, and essentially virtually all of my life have lived here, except for a couple of times when I went away for school or something like that. And what I love about Auburn is what a wonderful and welcoming community that it is. What a wonderful place to live, wonderful place to raise a family here, to feel comfortable, welcomed, everyone comfortable and welcomed, regardless of their background, and the positive attitude generally that Auburn has, and looking forward to the future, and trying to provide as good or better an opportunity than us who've been here for a while as they live their lives here as well. So it just feels comfortable to be here. It just feels welcoming, and people get to know you, and that's a good feeling to know that you're welcome in this community.
So I guess I'll go next.
David and Lauren are looking at each other like,
all right. So this is part of the laughing part. I guess I can start by, like, from a work perspective. What do I like about it? I think that, and when I say work, I mean the community. And I was just saying this to Lauren when we were coming back from a site visit. I think Auburn has this sense of neighborhood that doesn't exist in a lot of communities. New Auburn, West Auburn, North Auburn. I mean, they have names already, right? Like nobody even needed to do this. They've already been established. And when you're in there, there's a sense of place and feeling when you're in these areas. It's not something that the city necessarily went out and tried to force upon it. It's already there. I think that makes it a very desirable aspect to live in. I think it's nice. It has a lot of amenities that maybe a big city would have, but it doesn't have a big city feel to it necessarily. We have a downtown, but it's not a big downtown, right? So we have a little bit of everything going for us. We're huge too from a land area perspective. Yeah. So I mean, we have a ton of rural area. We have 2 bodies of water. We have access to rail, access to airport, lots of residential, lots of commercial, recreational amenities. I mean, we got a lot of things going on here, which is great because it should appeal to everybody. So I think that, from a job perspective and even just a desirability perspective, I think Auburn has a lot going for it like that. So that's not just one thing; it's just everything.
Yeah.
David likes everything about Auburn.
That's okay.
I think when I was, thinking about joining the City of Auburn as their long-range planner, I was driving through the city and really taking a moment to think about the next step that I was about to embark on. And what I found that I loved about the city and what I'm learning about the city and loving more about it is the people are just such a wonderful representation of Maine, and I feel like Mainers as a whole, every person I talk to, they're hardworking, they're excited, they love where they live, they want to make it better, and that's a really awesome part of it. And I also think Auburn, to David's point, just has all of these amenities. It's you're like, wow, where am I? I'm on along a river. I'm 30 minutes from a really amazing Portland. We're so close, and we have all these mountains, and we're growing, and it's just, that part was really exciting as well. And so, I don't know, Auburn just makes me excited. And when I talk to folks about that I work for the City of Auburn, they're like, oh, that place, that's good, that is the place, and it's going to continue to be the place. And so, yeah, I think I love it because it's exciting, and the people are a great representation of the state of Maine as a whole. So
I think, too, what you said, John, and it's not that this isn't the case in other communities, but I do think people are kind, people are welcoming. I don't know. It's not that doesn't exist, but I feel like it's apparent. Yeah. I don't know why that is.
To this note, I got a text from a random number, maybe my first week of work. Someone had my cell phone number, and she said, hi, I'm inviting you to this barbecue in my backyard. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. And she goes, oh, I thought you were Jennifer. And I go, no worries. She goes, thanks for your kindness. If you're ever in the LA area, like, come over to my house for a barbecue. And she didn't even know who I was. Right. And I was invited to her house.
And you were like, okay,
perfect. Have you taken our comprehensive plan survey?
Yeah, that's how, but that's how I know that I'm back home. I had moved away for about 10 years between school and when I was first married. And once I had my kids, it was like, you know what, it's time to come back home because it's safe. It's a great place to raise your family. I wanted my kids to have similar experiences growing up, not living in fear, being able to play outside, all of those things. So yeah, it is. It's just a different vibe, but it's good.
And I think that
it's good.
That actually ties into the comprehensive plan really well, right? I mean, it's like Maine is on more people's lists than ever as far as like a desirable place, not just to visit, but actually like stay and live. And that's not a bad thing, but
until you try to buy a house.
That's one aspect. But from my perspective, too, you want, I think, people want Maine to remain special and unique. We don't want it to become like anywhere else.
Yep.
So how do you balance that growth, not just in Auburn, but the whole state, and keep that uniqueness and special feeling about it that makes it why we actually like it here, you know?
And that all ties back to why we're doing a comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Because what we've talked about, that bigger sense of the community, comes from the individual parts of a community. So people who want to be here need to have a home. They need to have a home they can afford. They often will need employment here. If they have children, they want their children to have good education, and we have a good school system here. They want recreational opportunities. They want a community that they feel safe in and that their children feel safe in. So those kinds of things don't just happen by chance. You have to plan a lot of these things. So that's why this is important. We want this community to continue to be great. We want it to continue to have opportunities for everyone. We want it to have a place where people who have gotten older and don't have to work now can live here as well in a home that works for them. So all of these elements of where you live, where you play, how you get educated, what you do for fun and entertainment and recreation. And so we're looking at those aspects not just abstractly, but because they're what makes this place what it is. And our plan is to try to put those pieces together so that 10 years from now, it's going to be as good and even better than it is today.
Yes, yeah, very, very well said, John. Thank you.
That was awesome, John. Wow.
And so the best way to get involved is to share your thoughts, because the only way your voice is heard is by speaking up. So definitely look to get involved in the process in some way. Go to auburnmaine.gov to find all the latest information. Lauren mentioned some upcoming engagement opportunities in July. Dates for that will be on there. You can also leave thoughts on that page. There's all the meeting minutes and documents and different things live on that page as well. So definitely go to the city's website, follow us too on our social media channels. We're virtually on all the things: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, I'm trying to think, YouTube,
Spotify, Apple
the podcast. Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere.
You can pull me on the side of the street.
Right,
I
yeah.
got big curly hair.
Come
Can't miss it.
come visit us at City Hall.
Yes,
Even you
I
can
would
come
love
stop
that.
by. City Hall is open 8:30 to 4 Monday through Friday, barring any kind of federal holidays or state holidays. You can always pop in on the first floor. That's where our planning department lives, right across from where you'd go to register your car or register to vote. So definitely stop by anytime. You might even run into John, because he's probably got a pop-up office somewhere. I mean, we might want to look at that, John. I don't know.
That's not a bad idea.
So yeah, get involved. Reach out to anyone, whether it's David, Lauren, John. I will make sure that I put in the show notes ways that you can contact David and Lauren specifically, as well as where you find the comprehensive plan information. And on our website, you can also see a full list of the committee members. I think you mentioned, John, there were 19?
Well, there are 19 public members.
19 public members, okay.
But some members of the staff, administration are also on.
There. Okay. So yeah, the website, folks, social media, it's where it's at. That's where a lot of the information is. And thank you, John, David, and Lauren, for taking time to talk about this and help me learn a little bit more about the comprehensive plan. And I have taken the survey already, so I did that. But I look forward to some of the other engagement events here coming up in July that I can get involved with as well. So
thank you for the opportunity to be able to share more about the comprehensive plan and what we're doing. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. It was great.
Awesome. Should we talk about what we would do if we were mayor for a day?
We could definitely do that.
I'm not leaving that point behind.
You were mayor for a day.
If you did it again, John.
If you did it again, John, what would you do?
Well, that's a good question. The challenge always is being a public official is that there's always more demand on your time than you have available. Even though when I was mayor, I actually worked 40 hours a week, but I got paid for that. They paid me $2,000 for the year.
Oh, wow.
I think that was about 57 cents an hour.
It's all worth it, though.
What year was that?
1983.
$1983. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I would probably do is try to allocate even more time to hear from the public. That's where I really learn a great deal about the community and where I really learned a great deal about people's interests and needs in the community. That really helped inform my decision making and hopefully helped inform my leadership with the city council and with the administration. So the key for me was really being closely connected with the community, because as an elected official, we are a representative of the community, and we really try to work hard to understand this diverse group of opinions. And then we have the challenge of providing all of these wonderful things they want without raising their taxes.
Yes, that is a challenge. How about you, David?
If I was the mayor?
If you were the mayor. Yeah. Oh, come on. You've thought about it, haven't you?
Well, this podcast is only an hour long, and I'm going to need I don't. Jeez, I don't know.
He's getting really nervous.
I know,
He's
yeah,
squirming
exactly.
over there. What can I say? What can't I say?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Mayor Harmon's going to hear this.
Exactly, and this is rated G too for all audiences. So
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I would do for. I wouldn't want to be the
Yeah.
mayor. Quite
Yeah, that's
That is also a choice.
a fair statement.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to be involved in change. I mean, that's another thing about the planning department. I mean, we are in the front end of lots of changes and helping things get implemented. We may even influence the decision of planning boards or counselors or community members. At the end of the day, though, we don't make the decision. I mean, that's for the elected officials, and that's for the public to weigh in and give us the direction on that. So I'd rather actually probably be in the position that I'm in and provide advice to Mayor Cleveland over here so he can talk to the people and, get these things actually implemented and see changes happen.
Fair enough.
That's a good answer. John, you took my answer. I would just sit and I would want to talk to as many people as possible. Like if I had a revolving door of folks coming and talking to me, that would be a dream. 24 hours,
Nice.
I think, and lots of coffee.
Lots of coffee.
Yeah.
I think since I like to call myself the coordinator of fun, I would probably have some sort of an event, whether it's a barbecue or like how we do our lobster festival or New Year's Auburn, throw a big party to get people to come out and to interact with people on that level, just to have some fun and be together and have fun together as a community. I think that's what I would do. I would just throw another party. Why not?
Parties
We
are
should,
good.
we should advertise our July events. They're parties.
They're
That's
parties.
a good
Parties.
idea. Exactly.
There you go.
They're
Yes.
fun. We'll be together and we'll have fun together.
And
There may or
right.
may not be
And
food.
I was
Yeah,
going
there-
to say, throw some, even if it's like popcorn, people get excited about that. Or maybe some freeze pops.
Write in the comments below
It's
what type
July.
of food you'd want.
Yeah,
at the
freeze pops
July
would
We
be
event.
probably have a
great.
budget for freeze pops.
We could
could
do
do
that.
that.
I
You
would
could
make them at
totally.
home. I would do that for free.
We could do freeze
We're gonna make it
pops.
happen.
Well, thanks again for joining me. And now we have a new segment we can do. What would you do as mayor for the day? So moving forward, thank
We've
you
started
for
something.
helping me with that. That's fantastic. We're going to add that as a little addition to the podcast now.
Perfect.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Absolutely Auburn. You can find all things Auburn, Maine at auburnmaine.gov and goauburn.me. You can also listen to us anytime, anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, just to name a few. The City of Auburn's communications team wants to remind you that Absolutely Auburn is the only official podcast for the City of Auburn, Maine.